I'm gonna tweet out a link.
Yeah, people are already here, so I'm also going to tweet out a link real quick. Now, StreamYard doesn't balance audio, so if anyone thinks that our audio, someone's too loud or someone's too quiet, please let me know, because I can't really hear the mix, because StreamYard doesn't just want to cooperate with what I want, basically. Okay. Okay. Now, where do we want to start here? I assume everyone knows that a terrorist attack happened, right?
Yes.
And I think everyone, I assume, is up to date on what we're waiting for, and it's nothing short of a genocide. By definition, already is ethnic cleansing. Like, sometimes, like, for when they took out the TTP in Waziristan, everywhere but Waziristan, like, they had civilian evacs before they went in, and Pakistan said it was totally fine. There was no leftover civilians and stuff. But I think that's the main thing that we're looking at as a concern, is that there's going to be inevitable ground assault. And obviously the civilian casualty is going to be really bad. But also, what is it going to look like if an Israeli assault happens in Gaza, which is like it's almost like Kowloon walled city at this point, especially the area they're going into. It's the most densely populated area of Gaza. I don't know who it was, but somebody said, well, it's mostly concrete. It doesn't matter that they used white phosphorus. Like, white phosphorus is designed for concrete. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I've seen concrete burn down with that shit.
Wait until he meets nukes. He's going to be like, well, these are carbon-based life forms. This radioactivity is not an issue. Basically. Yeah.
So, what do we want to start with, James?
Okay, so do you want to start with? You guys want to start with conceptions and misconceptions?
Yeah. I got tons of stuff there. Can we? All right. So let me. One of the things that I think has been bothering me a lot is the weaponization of the Syrians, especially the white helmets, hard work. In this, on the information warfare sector, it's very strange to me, because Israel and Iran, like, I specialize with Iran information warfare, but Israel is really, really good as well. And it's hard for me to say who this misinformation is coming from, because Israel could be doing it, because anyone out, if you're already part of the Palestinian cause, they've lost you. Like, there's no like, you can't come back on the other side of the fence once you, like, wake up to what's going on. So I think a lot of it is, if it's the Israeli angle there, they're doing this white helmet footage, saying this is Palestine after calling these people terrorists for so many years. And it discredits those pro-Palestinian accounts as misinformation. So people outside of it, who appears, maybe your friends are, on a certain side and that side, and they see it on your feed and they say, like, wow, everything that's coming out from these Palestinian accounts is fake. That could be part of it. And then also it could just be Palestinian accounts just amplifying the atrocity. And I think that's weirder to me, because why amplify? Just point a camera outside,
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed, especially as a person who's known quite a few people in Syria after all of that started, is that people are terribly inconsistent on what they thought was going on there or what is going on there. So personally, it's been enjoyable to be like, oh, I thought Syria, we should stay out of there. You guys are really, really interested in Syria. Seems like you just didn't know it was Syria. But yeah, I think part of it is we have people who are just not, they have no idea what an actual war looks like. Ukraine got a lot of people very,
I agree.
very interested. And so they see someone share something, and they assume that must be Palestine. They look Middle Eastern, you know. But
So
yeah,
you're saying it's the white people racism.
a little bit, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
every
White,
time someone
it's
meets me and
weaponized
finds out
white guilt.
a little bit, yeah.
Okay, that's an
My
interesting approach.
every time someone meets me and they find out my father's Israeli, they're like, "Yeah, free Palestine," and I'm like, "My mother's Palestinian." Oh,
Oh,
oh, okay. Like, oh, you feel weird now, don't you? Yeah, it's such an interesting conflict. Sorry, but yeah, a little bit.
So, what other misconceptions that we want to get touch on, James?
oh. So I think the popular perception right now is that the IDF is going to drop thousands upon thousands of bombs all across Gaza, and then roll in and maybe take a few hundred losses or casualties, but they are going to successfully succeed in pushing out Hamas, and that's probably not quite accurate.
Yeah, you don't. So, do you think a ground assault is going to happen? I'm 75% a ground assault is going to happen. 25% they're bluffing.
I think it's 50-50
Okay.
at best, um, because like I know they don't want to go in there, like because once
Mhm.
you go in there, that's like a you can't take the you can't put the bullet back in the gun, whatever the heck it is, that phrase, that's a threat you can't ever live up to again. So yeah, I think they're largely bluffing, and I do think they will level that section that they're at. But uh, pretty much any modern military would tell you that trying to fight a war against a sophisticated tunnel network like Hamas has probably not going to go well.
Mhm.
Um,
Let
but
alone a tunnel network in a city. Just
yeah,
cities outright. Actually,
yeah,
the U.S. doctrine about cities is just to avoid them.
yeah. We go around at large, uh, and then cut them off, and then go in the city. Yeah, I think if anything, what they're gonna do, what they should do, like if based on every person I've spoken to, is they should do smaller special operations
That's what they have been
unit
doing that we know of.
with Sarat, McCall, and those units because they're going to be able to track those tunnel networks a lot better than these infantrymen made up of like frickin' bankers, and like I don't mean that as an anti-Semitism. I just mean like random people who have come
Farmers.
back to the military. Yeah, like these people they're not soldiers. They're
Yeah.
same way I feel about Russian soldiers. Most of them are just idiots. Like they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, I
So
think just because Israeli operatives are so good, the regular military is a little overrated.
mhm.
Israeli doctrine themselves have said that they can't beat Hamas. This is where the term mowing the grass comes from. Their doctrine has been like this for a long time, where they say, hey, we're just going to bomb Gaza every so often to keep them down because there's no way we can go in there and get them out. So to think that all of a sudden they can suddenly do that, they've been talking about how they need to do their entire doctrine as well. So like I think they just kind of have come up with one recently that hasn't been even put into practice at all. So I don't
Is
know.
the doctrine war crimes?
Is that yeah? And that's the thing is so the you said I was going to say something and I forgot. But Joe Biden, you said this has been especially on the left wing. There's been a little bit of outrage in this where like Joe Biden, they said like, hey, watch the like whatever rhetoric, like don't try to discourage them or something. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
haven't read the press statements myself because I don't really care because the US has nothing to do with they have like a greater negotiation with Arab states that they can pull in to stop stuff. But
Hmm.
like I was trying to explain to people that giving them like JDAMs and like guided bombs literally is like the best the US can do to reduce bloodshed at this point. Like
Yeah.
at least the civilians will be hit that they're aiming at. There's not going to
yeah.
be like the whole point is like statistically on paper, there's less civilian collateral. So as long as they only use them on places without civilian collateral, this reduces deaths. That's literally why we gave them those types of bombs. And it's so wild to me that the only thing you can do to reduce a genocide is give them more accurate bombs. I shouldn't be laughing, but I don't think it's going to happen as well. Like, and if it does happen, I'm very cynical and like almost like seeing how much this will hurt the Zionist like element of the regime, and like the nationalist element of the regime, I should say. Because already the failure in these neighborhoods, this is something I've been trying to stress to people, is that these communes existed before the state of Israel existed, before the state of Israel was even an idea. So they were driven out. They were literally communists who were driven out by the Bolsheviks for being Jews. And they said, bro, we just want to have an agrarian society. And that's how these places started. To say that's what they are today is a stretch. A lot of the like upper echelon of the IDF comes out of these farming communes. They're very involved. But like it was originally called like social Zionism or something like that. But it's just funny that it's how it's structured, because when the state of Israel comes in, obviously Palestinians get ripped of human rights and all that shit. These communes still exist like outside of the Israeli law in a way. So we've seen this video with the regular police officers with pistol responding to one of the massacres that were one of the worst. Those guys literally make sure farmers aren't using water that's on like Israel's land, because they have like their own like commune land. They're literally like farm patrol. They like go get sheep that got out of pastures and shit. And they're like literally probably have only used their guns in training, and they're sitting here like engaging Hamas. That's incredible. But the whole thing
he had an interesting choice of cover.
Yeah, you could tell they didn't really know what they were doing. But the whole point of that diatribe that I did, so these little communes, they don't have IDF. They have an internal security force. The internal security force is trained by the IDF. They work like kind of alongside the IDF, but it's kind of like how reservations here kind of have their own police. So the militia has to be called to assemble. So when Hamas hits them and only the security chief is around, who's basically a sheriff, it's like a sheriff. You call the militia up. The gun lockers are in headquarters, so they don't even have access to their guns. So a lot of the information we see with text messages and stuff, people saying like, oh, their bunker doesn't even lock. They're like, bomb shelter doesn't even lock. Just saying, we don't have our guns. They're coming, that type of stuff. Literal people who are trained with rifles and that type of thing to respond. So that is part of the absolute failure that happened in these farmlands. And when we're talking about the, I guess we can go into misinformation here, but we talk about where the thing about the 40 beheaded babies come from. That's the place where those police were engaging that commune. That commune, and that's another thing is that there's no such thing as Hamas in a certain aspect. There's Hamas, a political party, and Hamas, an umbrella organization. All these cells function differently. They might not even be loyal to Hamas. They just kind of like bend the knee, Game of Thrones style stuff where it's like rival families and things like that. So we'll see video. Literally, they're like uncles, gray shirts, like polos, right? And it's like, I know this stereotype of the uncle, right? And it's like a group of like 5 uncle types, right? And it's that video that we see like almost in the beginning where a mom has 2 children saying like, don't kill me. And they're like, we'll protect you, come in here, right? Contrasted with literally everyone burned. Literally, what would be defined as a Holocaust, that's what it means, is like the burnt offering, right? That's where the term comes from. And that's the whole point of why they were doing this. So it's like there's different militia and shock troops going on inside this organization. I have not seen anything that says Hamas as an entity told these people to go through and do the atrocities that they did. Besides the general killing, we're talking killing civilians, which honestly I don't care. In this type of war, when we're talking about Israel and Palestine, civilians die in Gaza like to a way greater amount. So at the end of the day, like I don't really care about civilian casualties. Not to be like heartless about it, but
No.
it's the extra step. You know, I expect civilian massacres. I expect hostages. I think all of that is almost like appropriate. Like fuck international law. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if anyone calls me like genocidal for saying this, but I think there is weight in this. The extra stuff that happened, it's funny that like the IDF doesn't want to talk about it because, or not the IDF, the Israeli government is the one who's like trying to keep it quiet, right? And why the you know, babies, like their heads keep magically reattaching and falling off day to day. We've verified, unverified, that type of stuff. Now, this whole issue makes this is like one of Hamas's and many terrorist groups' tactics is to show the civilians that their government can't protect them. That's what this does. Also, depending on how conspiracy brained you are, you're not really going to be receptive to this point. But if we look at 9/11, one of the main reasons the government started like not disclosing shit is because they realized how much these intelligence gaps were and how obvious it was if they actually looked where they needed to look. So I think a big part of this, them not immediately trying to be like, look at all the things that they did in this village, you know, and trying to control the baby massacres that happened in this village commune. I think that's a big part of it, is that the government is going to fall like from this. The current government in power, they're not going to last because of this. Hamas effectively dealt a very critical, effective blow to the Israeli government in this scenario. And now it's all the video is, you know, either made it back to Gaza or it died with those fighters. And so let's start there about the massacres on civilians and this type of stuff and how we feel about it and where the information is there.
So it's probably, I think the way I put it initially, after they're seeing reports that, or actually a report from the rave, where they were shooting blindly and wildly at the crowds for a substantial duration of time, and then they promptly stopped and started picking up wounded hostages and saying, "Oh, you're alive. Okay, you can go now." It's schizoid, right? It's not like you don't expect someone to be conducting a sustained massacre and then to just stop suddenly, unless they are ordered to do so, or unless they're supposed to be attaining a different objective, right? Like picking up hostages.
Well, rumor had it they didn't know the rave was going on. Do you believe that?
No, absolutely fucking not.
Do you think it was planned to get foreign hostages from that rave?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. No, actually, I think Ryan Macbeth shared.
When was this rave announced that it was going to be? My chinchilla's barking in the background. When was it announced that this rave was going to be coming in? Do we know that?
We don't know that.
2 years ago is when they planned the initial operation.
So if they have 2 years ago, that's totally viable. Now, let me check one of my contacts here. See what I can and can't say from this. Oh, man, he just texted me a whole bunch of information that I can't look through right now. I have a date, though, and I'll see if I can just disclose that date. But anyway, Matt, you want to go ahead and give your opinion on this while I look this up?
I mean, obviously, I don't like it when civilians die.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Especially as a person who woke up on Saturday with a very disgusting video on my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, civilian casualties happen in war, and an incitement of a conflict, which was kind of already going, but was officially announced at that point. It's probably going to happen, right? Mama didn't raise no fool. But I would say, yeah, I would find it very hard to believe that they didn't know what was going on.
Okay,
they were way too well organized for that exact moment.
So, from what I have been told, and this comes from like really like an intelligence source that has rarely been wrong with stuff that they're able to give me. They normally give it to me because they know it to be true and it's a fact. April 24th, we have foreign fighters going in. So April 24th, the earliest, is when this attack started being planned.
Yes, that's exactly right. Not only that, if you're, did your source say how much you can share?
That's all I can say.
Okay, yeah, foreign fighters.
Though I just don't want to compromise my source.
Okay, yeah, there were foreign fighters popping up in Gaza and betting on themselves with Hamas. So it's not actually the foreign fighters are the ones who perpetrated most of the atrocities, not actually Hamas's guys.
I would believe that.
Well, yeah, I mean,
we know
I don't mean to mock anyone. I just think, warfare is a skill, right? I firmly believe that. And it's not exactly something you can just fake it. Especially, I mean, Israel's military was clearly caught with their pants down, but like they're not that far with their pants down. They're still one of the probably better armed militaries in the world. And yeah, I would not be surprised, just based off of what I've seen, if we had some guys from the Taliban in there.
Haqqani Network?
Huh?
Haqqani Network or Taliban?
That's Haqqanis.
Probably
the Taliban
Haqqanis.
are still playing by themselves. Also, it appears there were some Daesh fighters there because even Haqqanis don't like behead babies.
Yeah. Now, it's not because we found a flag that people associate with that we're saying that. Okay, just to be clear. And the fact that they're holding it upside down in that picture made me laugh a lot. But what I even saw like militant journalists that I really, really respect immediately say ISIS flag. And I'm like, come on. Like, and then like every day since then, it's been another flag. This is Al Qaeda's flag. This is that flag. It's like, you need to shut the fuck up. Because Ace, who works with us, like he's actually Egyptian, so like he knows like all the like Arab names for all this stuff, so Jack was confused about the Quds Brigade because like he's more familiar with Soleimani and the Quds Force. So I was explaining to him that like all these groups have the same name, and it's like it gets awful. Like Hizbi Islami and Hizbi Islami fought each other in Afghanistan. Like that's why America uses all these acronyms and shit. So like to think that like and that's another thing is just like who cares? Who cares if they had like the like Islamic militant flag that's not even technically a militant flag, it's just mainly favored by militants, Who cares? And even if it was planted, what is the point? Because that's one of the things that people are like, this is fake, blah, blah, blah.
I was writing a response to your tweets to that, pointing out that you can buy it on Amazon. I was like, it must not be that dangerous. Like, the fact that I showed it to my mother and she's like, oh, yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, that's... And she wasn't like, Habibi, where have you been?
It's only like illegal... In like, I think Britain, it's illegal. It's illegal in certain countries, probably France now because France hates freedom. And then I think the other thing is that we're supposed to believe that Hamas doesn't have access to printers.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that.
I have seen like the amount of bags that I have like seen pulled off of corpses and like. Everything is decayed and a perfect plastic bag full of documents is pulled out of that bag, Like to think that they haven't figured out that you can put shit in sandwich bags, fold it up, and it's going to be completely fine. People are like, the documents are too pristine. Whoa, like you mean they have a computer and they know like, this is like, they fight Israel. You think these guys fucking live in caves or something? Like, come on.
They think they're communicating with smoke signals.
Genius. This attack impresses me more than any attack I've ever seen. It is like outstanding what they were able to accomplish. And it's not like I'm pro Hamas. I'm very anti Hamas because of what their goals are. Like I'm more pro Al Qaeda than most people are in that sense. Like, because I can make arguments of when Al Qaeda have been an actual revolutionary force. Hamas has never been that. Mm-hmm. And also, go ahead.
I mean, like, I tried to explain this on Twitter to someone, probably failing, because this is like a leftoid, but like, don't get it twisted, I'm a leftoid, but like, I'm not, mentally damaged that much. Only had one car IED go off. I said, like, one of the reasons that there's like no dialogue is that Hamas, just in general, like, has the worst reputation for keeping their word. Like, I tried to explain to someone, America has a considerably better relationship with Al Qaeda than it does with Hamas. Like, considerably better. Like, because Hamas just, basically, your best bet is whenever they tell you this is what we're going to do, they're not going to do that. They're going to do the exact opposite.
To touch on that, as I said earlier, there's no one Hamas, right?
Well, yeah,
this
is
an issue that the Israeli government has, is that when these attacks happen, who to hold responsible? Because we know, like I've talked about this with Ace and he agrees with me, that if you look at the clip of the Hamas leader I think it's Qatar, where he's watching on TV, he's genuinely surprised and shocked at what's going on, right? And you
his
hear the
face
stuff
is
like,
so fucking...
you hear about the stuff like, how is Iran involved, right? And people think that it's like the Ayatollah knew about this attack, right?
No.
No. Hezbollah, it may have been planned in Beirut. They may have had a planned green light a week ago. But when we say Iran is involved, it's like we tortured people who financed 9/11 and had no idea what they were financing, Like, let's be careful with what we're throwing around here.
I mean,
when we say who's involved.
It would not make much sense for them to be involved if you think about the cost of what it's going to cost them. Like, because they just got this deal, get this money back, and how valuable that will be for their economy. And then immediately, before they have access to that money, there's an attack with a linked group to them. Like, that's just insanity. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why wouldn't they make a like a withdrawal and then do it? That would have made way more sense. But
and how do we feel about, what is it? The conspiracy is that this was to stop the Saudi talks.
Maybe, but that definitely probably wasn't their main objective, right?
Coincidental.
Yeah, it's stopping the Saudi talks.
You think it's coincidental? It's a bonus objective.
Yeah.
That's what I agree with you.
It's probably more likely that Netanyahu's government was, I guess, fragmented, and Hamas plus Iran and Hezbollah, they thought they had an opening to seize hostages and garner more, I guess, concessions from the Israeli government. And they wanted to do just a sort of soft raid, go in, take some hostages, get out, maybe leave a few fighters behind to slow them down, the IDF response, but nothing like a massacre, right? They didn't want to do anything too much to rock the boat, just enough to say, hey, you have to talk to us now.
I have an interesting tidbit from a source that will not be hard to track down if the IDF decides to, but there's not shit they can do to him. They think that there's a good chance that this operation was planned to not go on the day that it happened, but the day before. But because the weather was bad.
I 100% believe that. It happens all the time, actually.
They totally chose not to do it. Yeah.
And you needed the weather. You need it for the their sea assault sailed. Now, another thing, them not expecting the music festival, right? So when we're talking about these types of operations, the amount of people who would actually know what was going on would be limited, which would contribute why you would have info packets. And have you seen some of the pages out of here? There's like high-res detailed documents on how to defeat the trophy system on each Israeli tank and shit. Like, they literally gave them warfare manuals and maps and stuff on some of these guys. Not all. Some of them didn't even have guns that they sent in there, because it's human wave tactics on these. And these people, there's 25 security officers for these like communes, you know, that's it. So even if they do get armed and stuff, they were sending, specifically from the attacks that I've seen, they knew how many militia were staffed in each of these places, and the detachment that they sent was at least double for every single one that they sent to. Now, that said, if we look at Israeli numbers, they say 1,500 bodies recovered. So to me, that says they overcommitted by 1,500, right? That was like, that was what they could afford to lose. And it was so, somebody used the phrase catastrophic success, because you don't give these people orders, really. You're just intending for them to get mowed down by the IDF. The IDF, now, this is another component, is the West Bank. Now, I've posted about groups like the Jenin Brigades, Lion's Den. All these groups are funded by Hamas as well. They receive funding from Hamas. They get other funding and stuff. Most of them work regular jobs, but these people have been incredibly effective. Israel's largest detachment force since the second Intifada was used in the last Jenin assault. Where I'm pretty sure Jenin is where that journalist got shot as well. That was Jenin. So these areas where they drone striked the West Bank, even that's how much of a thing that was going on. And Bibi kept committing to the settlements. He's obsessed with the settlements, right? So he keeps on giving the settlers guns, giving them armor, all this types of stuff. You can see Alibaba making the army for him, you know, because we see China sending it over. It's all for those settlers, right? So these people are actually resisting something in the West Bank.
Absolutely.
And now, funding that contributes to me because they kept pulling people from the South, right? So eventually you have, after World War II, for example, people talk about how many bases we have now. We used to have more. They closed them down after World War II because it was ineffective to staff them. So I think that they pulled so much from the South that it became ineffective, that they couldn't even repel an attack that was even smaller. We don't even know how large the attack was. We only have bodies to count, you know? Who knows how many they sent in? But they sent enough. And I think those commandos, the first one we see going through there, like breaching the wall and stuff, they're hitting hard targets, so the IDF then can't respond to these farm areas. So they're taking out the first responders first. And I think Israel really wants to keep people in the dark about what's going on there more. I think they actually want us to be like, hey, look, we're killing people in Gaza. Don't look at what happened the other day, though. Isn't this tragic that we just bombed 70 people who were evacuating?
Yeah, I really find it hard to believe that even the pressure that they supposedly want to keep on Hamas, like any person with a brain knows, and I've talked to flag officers who agree with this statement, that any person with a brain knows that they're so deep right now underneath any sort of structure that they're going to bomb that all they're doing is putting dust on their head. That's it. You know, like it's not an effective way to deal with that situation. The more I think about it, the more I think that not only are you right that they've been detracting, military resources away from the south to the north, where they have to protect their little sociopaths. I have never met an Israeli citizen who's a Mizrahi Jew who thinks that the settlers are fucking normal. I've not met one. I've met thousands of them. They're all like
not
insane
Israeli, you know, like they're like half of them are from fucking Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You know, like these people have no right to be there. Like if you're like, it's like double secret probation. Like if you're against just the state of Israel in general, you should really fucking hate what's going on in the West Bank above anything else.
Yeah. The West Bank. Whenever I talked about it with my dad, he's like, "Yeah, it's always an American." Sorry, my dad has a weird accent. I've always said that the lovely Israeli/Mizrahi Jew accent is a combination of Russian, French, and then you give yourself the slur of Sylvester Stallone, and that's what it is. He's like, I remember meeting those people and just thinking like, this is a sociopath. Like this person is insane. He's like, I'm here to die for Israel. It's like,
Yeah.
buddy, that doesn't make you a hero. That makes you an idiot. My dad was in Surat Maktal, like not a coward. It's just like you're dumb. You're special. He's got like 80 words to call someone mentally deficit, and he just goes through them all at the same time. Like, but yeah, so much of what happened here though is a resource management issue, which comes down to the government, comes down to Bibi, comes down to Herzog. They gotta go. Like, it's what it's. I've not spoken to a single relative of mine that hasn't said he's gotta go, and like, that's so odd. These people can't agree on anything. If we meet somewhere, they're like, no, I don't want to go to the Chinese buffet. No. We're gonna have to argue about this for 2.5 hours. So yeah, like it's such a wild situation.
So, what do you guys think that a land invasion would look like? At least, just at a narrow operational level.
Charlie Foxtrot.
Before we get there, I just want to mention real quick the Iran element. Is Iran going to get involved? We talked about this a little bit. I think Iran is fully involved in the negotiations to make it not happen, because they're like, we don't. Come on, guys, come on, please don't drag us into this. So people are, like the so-called champions of human rights that are supposed to be crushing the Ukrainian fascists and all that stuff. Now they're bombing here. This is see here. They're bombing here. Gaza is down here
right now.
So when we say, what are they going to do about it? Are they going to get involved? You tell me. What do you think? Because right now they're killing civilians up here. You're champions of liberty up here. All right. Now, that said, we're not going to see anything. Oh my God, I almost took out everything. We're not going to see anything besides Hamas and the Israeli if this happens. Besides, like, whatever foreign fighters they have left over from this assault. The coordination by Hamas, how are they going to able to coordinate a counterattack? Do they expect a ground assault to happen? Did they have a plan in place for a ground assault to happen? And has Israel ever planned to do, like, are they dusting off old plans about what they were going to do in the West Bank or in Gaza back in the day? Like, how long do you have to draw up a ground invasion? How much pre-intelligence do you actually need to make that successful, and how much pre-planning do you need to make a ground defense successful?
Well, in my experience, I've never invaded the country. I've just blown up a bunch of theocratic fascists in lovely Afghanistan, and accidentally got high off of opium. That was funny.
Not in Afghanistan, though. I was wrong.
Yeah. That's a better story. People died in mine, but yours is clearly better. Yeah. I don't see any way this goes well. There's no. People are like, oh, they've got tanks, and I'm like, hey, I've spent the past 18 months going to a country who barely had tanks, and how they have kicked the shit out of what was thought to be the second most powerful military in the world's tank force by using drones. Like, I swear to God,
not we, but the defense people have been having a discussion on, like, are tanks relevant anymore? Do we need tanks? Like, they're talking about, like, maybe we don't need tanks. It's like how the horse disappeared for a while when pike and shot developed.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I was just like, I can't tell you. Okay, this is a funny story, and this person's gonna be famous one day, I swear. He's been in all the important places in Ukraine when they happened. But this guy, Vitali, I trained him when I was with 5th Angle Co. at Air Naval Gun Liaison Company. We called in airstrikes in Afghanistan to blow up the boom boom. Uh, he was 18 years old when I met him, much older now, obviously, because I got out in 2015, but he is obsessed with bad American television. So, like, I send him, like, DVDs of bad TV shows that, like, go on forever, like Supernatural, all respect in the world, and stuff like that. And I sent him Walking Dead. And there's an episode of Walking Dead where this gunsmith makes rounds that explode when you shoot them, and it injures or kills the people. And he texts my father. He's like, "Hey, Jeff, my father, a professional, world-renowned gunsmith, can you make a bullet that does this?" And he's like, "I don't know if that's even possible. Like, I think it is, but like the type of work you'd have to do, it's like, that's a massive amount." He's like, "Yeah, but like if they shoot one bullet and that happens, they're going to start questioning their supply." It's like this type of like insane video, like anime protagonist thought mindset that has just blown my mind about the Ukrainians. Like just thinking around the box. But Hamas has been watching that, so they know they can put an anti-tank round on a drone and destroy the tank.
People like don't realize, like, Hamas is like, they have internet, you know. They used to make great TV. I got it. Where is it? It's here somewhere.
Oh God, Hamas television.
Yeah, hang on. Here it is. Yep, that's a bop right there.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. They're not stupid. They've been paying attention to how you fight a superior military force in an urban environment. If I was the IDF, I would be hoping someone to bail me out, and so I don't have to step off into Gaza. Because like, if we're talking about military casualties, it's going to be wild.
Yeah, did they quote how much of the force? They've said numbers about how much they've like called up or something.
I think it's north of 300,000 of reservists called up.
Mm-hmm. They called up someone who was at Deir Yashin. So like, my guy is in his 90s.
Yeah, so. Yeah, literally, it's like the dude literally was like the closest. It's like a Nazi Jew. Like, it's like, and that when we talk about that, and like that is the embodiment of it. Like the guy's literally, like, you could just tell, like, he's got like the half face melt look to him and everything. Like, he had it all. He had it all, where you just know by looking at him. Ironically, after the picture was taken, he got to go to Canada and they clapped for him.
I just had that thought, like, whenever they posted it, I was like, my guy, did you Google this gentleman? Like... Oh, Jesus. Yeah, it's a cluster over there. And you know, that's all BB's propaganda. You know, they view that as a sign of strength. You know, they don't view that as you were collaborating with the machinations of the Holocaust. This is a Jewish country. Like,
so we have population here. We're looking at, like, you know, I think it's 1.1 million people to be. They gave them 24 hours to evac. I mean, we just saw this, something that really pissed me off today. So it was that IRGCIO motherfucker war monitor, right? Post a picture. It's like writing on a child's hand, and it's like, it's so that the parents can identify the body or something. It's like, what do you mean? You're like, oh, how do I know if this is my child that's buried under the rubble that is my home? Like, it's such a disgusting thing to say about what was really going on, because like, I assisted with Afghan evac and Ukraine evac, right? It's just like help logistical planning and networking and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Now, we tell people to write on their children's arms. You know, like, there was people giving lamination cards out in like Afghanistan that you like put a placard around your child, you know, to like, because there's no telling if you'll be on the same plane and the same car, any of this. So like, there's like families where their child was just put into a car and gone. They had to wait for a car that could fit them. Children are easy to put on somebody's lap. So the child separation that we're talking about here is being undercut by this IRGC IO motherfucker who's doing information warfare on behalf of Iran, right? And and clouding everything. Like, this is a very serious thing that's going on. The child separation that's being here, and we're going to focus on making it about like some bullshit about needing to identify children's bodies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get vaporized, what kind of weapons are we talking about that just vaporizes the children?
Yeah, they're all getting hit with the Apple Core, the Hellfire missile.
The Ginso.
We called it the Rosin Shuriken when it was being tested.
Yeah. I call it the slap chop,
which is way better, and everyone agrees. The only thing you'll get people in the military to agree about is that is a great name. The wild thing to me about all the misinformation about stuff like that is that some of it could be like they watched a video from someone who worked in artillery or worked in calling in airstrikes, and like, how do we get people away from our bases? And usually it's just funny, dark, like, okay, yeah, would you write your name on all your limbs so when they get blown off, like, I can put your body back together?
Yeah.
What?
I spit soda everywhere. It's literally all over.
Yeah, like, these are the type of things we say to civilians to get them to go away.
Oh, I mean, if it works. Well, actually, that's a solid segue here, right? What do you guys think about Al Rafa, Egypt?
Oh, I was going to ask, is there a pen tool that we can circle stuff on the map with?
Ooh.
I know you can drop pins.
Not on Google Earth, I don't think. Whatever. Let me check something else.
Go to Google Maps. I'll stall for time.
But yeah, I could believe part of that because, like, maybe they heard. I think Ryan Macbeth did a bit on that, actually. Funny enough, like the stuff that we would tell civilians, like, "Hey, they're gonna mortar us, right? Do you know what surviving a mortar attack is like?" And they're like, "Huh?" It's like, well, it explodes in a cone. So, like, part of you may be over here, part of you may be over here. Now, that's not going to actually happen, but it's terrifying when you hear it from the corpsmen because people assume that we're nice, and I'm not nice. That's how you keep operational creep away from an area. But that whole thing doesn't make sense to me because, like, even in Ukraine, I remember seeing children who had just been evac'd into Poland with writing on their hand. I'm like, oh, child separation issue. Because
let's talk about skill issues with Israeli military.
So many.
So we just saw. I made a joke earlier about this helicopter crash.
I forgot.
Oh, you think it's funny when 50 soldiers die in a helicopter crash? Okay, I see who's the monster now. No, but seriously, what the fuck? Like, how do you let this shit happen? This is like Tora Bora level of like fuck up,
This makes Black Hawk Down look like a perfect mission.
When was this?
Like today.
Oh, Jesus.
What put it down, by the way? Do we have any sort of information?
Didn't you say something? You said that they used something.
I assume, now granted, some helicopters just crash on their own. I am a Osprey crash survivor.
Those helicopters specifically crash on their own.
Yeah, exactly. I remember saying, "Are you sure that we're good to land here?" Oh yeah, immediately crash. But
Osprey just crashed recently.
Yeah,
in Australia.
We got to get rid of that freaking thing. It's got to go. It's probably costing us more on disability.
I would say because of because of the tail separation, it doesn't look like a hard landing, but it looks like it was hit while landing. Maybe, I don't know. I've only seen like a few helicopters like get hit. So.
Because what I heard from my source was that it was hit with kinetic munitions. It was hit with bullets, and that's what put it down. Now, I want to meet the guy. I don't even care if he's Hamas. I want to meet the guy who shot down a helicopter. Like that. We may not meet for long, but that's a hell of a shot. Like, if it's just a rifle, that's
kind of embarrassing.
Chris Kyle definitely didn't kill that guy in American Sniper. If that's the case, he did not. The guy survived. I don't know why it says in the movie he didn't.
Oh yeah. Well, in the movie they try to make him be Juba, who's like
we made him one guy.
They literally, but there's also Juba is also in the John Cena movie where it's like he stands on a mine or no, it's called The Wall.
Yeah.
The Wall.
Yeah.
Juba's in that. But you guys know that Iraq made their own Iraqi sniper movie that because of Chris Kyle just being like a liar and stuff. And it's not great, but it's like an independently made like Iraqi movie. It's like 15 minutes long about the Iraqi sniper. And I just think that's really funny for them to be like, no, fuck you, Iraqi sniper. Because like, as far as like, we don't even know if Juba's real, for starters.
It's a bunch of guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe Chris Kyle is a bunch of guys because he's certainly spinning lies in his book.
Yeah.
He's 7 dwarves underneath a quote.
Now, so the thing is that Ace talked about it when he was in Egypt. They would have the sniper videos playing on the TVs in the cafes and stuff. Like, he's an icon. Like, so if we're talking about like, it doesn't matter if it's a single person. Like, people are so obsessed with like the range and technicality of how a shot happened. Nobody stopped to think, what if the shot didn't happen? Who cares? Like, who shot it? Nobody. It doesn't matter. We're gonna film this movie that's gonna be like the first viral video on the internet, and it's just like Americans getting killed by snipers.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that Afghani snipers are so fucking blind. Good old one-shot Freddy.
Well, they also don't look where they're shooting.
I've often thought that because, like, I had a staff sergeant whose name is almost illegal. Good old BDJ, legal name Dick Johnson, nickname Big. He was a 6'5" guy from Boston. He had an aggressively Boston accent. Amazing human being. Love him. Great dude. He was a super soldier, it felt like. And I was mortal. I remember one time some guy was shooting down at us from like a mountainside, like directly straight down. And he only had an M4 and he just looked up for a second and I had popped an entire clip up there already. I was a designated marksman, so clearly I'm a failure. And shoots one burst up there and the rifle just falls to the ground.
Jesus.
Like, I see a lot of things where it's like they're yelling at them, at the Afghans that they're like working with the ANA, and they're like, you have to look where you're shooting. You have to use your use your eyes, like, because like they're trying to communicate that it's like you can't just like blindly shoot over the wall.
Yeah.
Hamas looks where they're shooting, like it's a whole different enemy, and people are comparing it to Fallujah, and it's like,
no,
I mean, it's closer to, it's going to be closer to Grozny if it happens.
Grozny, yeah.
In fact, it can't be as brutal as Grozny because Israel might actually be held to account if they committed the war crimes that Russia did in Chechnya. Like, that might actually be too far for Israel to even go to that measure to win something like that.
Yeah, Grozny's a good example. I don't know about the IDF's capabilities when it comes to targeting things above a certain angle. So they may have. We're going to be looking 8 years in the future, and they're going to make the most useless APC of all time, the Terminator. And just because it can tilt its guns up a little bit further. But
Okay. And what are we looking at for this map?
Okay, so there's a lot of discussion about why Israel won't open the border for Palestinian refugees from Gaza. Uh, so, I mean, here's the Rafah border. I mean, you've probably heard it in the news a lot, but nobody really talks about it. It's actually, apparently, Hamas and other elements have been buying up plots of land through here to dig tunnels through to Gaza and smuggle stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, but
No, they can literally like order pizza, like they'll like have pizza delivered to the tunnels. Like the Hamas are the only people who are free in that open air prison. You know, it's like I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. The fact that they even shared this was wild to me. That they were ripping the water pipes out of the ground to make rockets.
that's not even new. That's like a year old.
You know,
They
I
shared that
know.
a year ago. Yeah,
But it's just like that's the thing.
blows
It's
my
just
mind.
like it's such so like part of me is like it would be good. It would be good if they went in there and like killed all of Hamas and actually like literally it's like liberate Gaza. But we know what liberation armies do in these situations. You know, like
Yeah.
also I think this might correlate. Where is the? So we have this right here. This is the ISIS attacks.
yeah, this is a map from Catherine Tyson at ISW. This is the attack zones for Wilayat al Sinai. So, yeah, no, sending refugees through to Egypt proper, at least overland, is a non starter for, I guess, obvious reasons. The Egyptian government does not control Sinai. They have killed a bunch of ISIS fighters to the point where it's sort of.
Sisi barely controls Egypt at this point.
Yes. And the Egyptian, when your economy's collapsing, the only way for the refugees to get there is literally through.
Yeah, I made this joke the other day. What are they going to do? Subsidize bread again?
Yeah.
It's just not. I mean, even if they do or want to open up a refugee camp, ISIS is just going to infiltrate it and use the millions of pissed off Gazans as a giant recruiting tool, a recruitment spot. So whenever you see Western officials say or try to blame Egypt for not opening up the border, they're not really being genuine there, right? Because that's not really a thing that they can do.
Oh, that reminds me. Political positions not being real. Continue.
Oh yeah, this is a map from 2020, and yeah, this is as you might have missed it.
You
That was.
You want me to flip back to the map I had up? You want this one?
Yeah, just for a sec.
Okay.
This is from 2020, and 17 fatalities is the largest circle. The smallest circles are 0. This is from a 5-month time span. And Wilayat Sinai only has like 1,000 guys currently, but they've been conducting a bunch of massacres over the years. So
yeah, and it's not even like relevant for Egypt to even deal with this because like they don't give a shit about the Sinai anyway.
It's literally just a desert wasteland.
Wars were fought over this. Literally, the Arab-Israeli war is fought
and
over
the Suez Crisis.
Yeah.
And they just don't. Yeah, it's so odd to me that how the brand, because I don't think most of these ISIS cells are remotely the same country to country. Because if ISIS-K
They're not, no.
is the original Daesh, I'm really disappointed. They were very boring. It was just nothing remotely interesting.
All of the ISIS-K guys you fought are basically dead by now. If you guys didn't kill them all,
I know.
This Taliban finished the job. Right now, they're
Bro, we were talking about this like Taliban. It's like joking about how you think they're doing better than the Americans, right? at like not killing civilians, and you cut to a clip of them. They cut open a propane tank, filled it with like powder, sealed it back up again. That's now a bomb, and they drop it through a window and level an entire house. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure that's more effective than what the Americans were doing, less destructive.
I mean, you
Totally.
can't kill any civilians if you just count everybody you kill as ISK.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to talk about this little video here. Now, I'm going to send it in private chat. James, would you open this for me?
Yeah.
So I think this is a very interesting video that I think we should talk about.
Ooh.
By the most Israeli nationalist reporter that Israel has, like for real. So what we're seeing, Iranian foreign minister meet with Hamas leader in Qatar, right? It's just like look at does this look like people who are like getting ready for like a ground invasion? You know, like does this look like that's what we're looking at here? I don't think so, right?
But yeah, it's probably worth pointing out they sent a diplomat, not a general.
Yeah.
I would hope so. Yeah, and that seems like some people that are just like, okay, so this is what we're going to have to do to help Israel step off. And
actually,
that's though I'm not sure there's such a thing right now.
Another thing I wanted to talk about. This is a video. So, like I said, like people will be like, "Oh, this map. How do they have access to printers?" You know, and how sussy that is. Now, it's rare that I see something and I'm like, I do not know how to feel about this whatsoever. Okay, have we seen? Has everyone seen this video right here?
No.
Okay. I think you know what. This isn't even the. There's a longer version. So let me grab the longer version real quick. Go ahead, pull up the map again. We'll get to it eventually. Okay, so.
Oh God.
They put this out. They say that this is a Hamas militant. You know what? This still isn't long enough. I need to find a longer one because there's elements in the full length video that are very interesting to me as somebody who looks at this stuff. So now, where do we think there's going to be entry points here?
So
I think they're going to go from the north to the south. I mean, north to south to start. That'll be the first entry point. Probably rallying around the corner there of the grid. But I would imagine the second one is midway through Gaza. They're just going to plow a hole through that fence and just go right up there to that main artery, come straight north, meet in the middle. I mean, it's going to be terrible. They're not going to meet in the middle. They're just not. But, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. That looks like the I guess operationally appropriate thing to do would be to sever these supply lines or the nominal open supply lines between northern and southern Gaza, or the northern and southern strip. But it's not going to work, right? Because Hamas uses tunnels.
Yeah, they have a lot of strategies for fighting modern militaries. They don't have a great strategy against like militant groups like this that are basically learned the lessons from Vietnam.
Of course, I found the video I was looking for on Emily from Tel Aviv's account. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? So let me backtrack and go to her Twitter, see if it's on there. That's probably why it's not, because I block a lot of these people because I just don't want them on my feed. Yeah, so that might be why I couldn't find what was coming up. How do you spell Tel Aviv? How does she spell it? How does she spell her name?
Probably Emily sounds like a very
there she
melanin. lacking name.
Denominated.
Yeah. She's awful. She's just as she's one of the worst propagandists there are. I mean, she's good at it, but like, ugh. I just don't like nationalists. Okay, guys, it's that simple.
Fair enough.
Yeah, if you make a tool your entire political ideology, you may have an issue. The nationalism, in a certain way, sometimes can be good, but when taken to the
it's
nth degree,
when you
it's bad.
romanticize it and it becomes more about your feelings and stuff, then you start getting Hitler. Okay, found the full video. Now I wanted to start from the beginning because the most genuine part about me is the beginning, and it's the way the guy's shaking, you know, because he's like blindfolded, and this is supposedly, they say, leaked. This is not leaked. This is put out intentionally. Nobody leaked this because there's literally edited cuts in it. Okay, you don't leak an edited cut video. Okay, but I want to talk about if we think that this is like actually legitimate, that Israel put this out and this is totally legitimate from, and look, her watermark's even on it. Emily from Tel Aviv. Okay, so it will be subtitled. So let me know if you can't read them.
محمد نحن العرشة 21 من 20 مواليد 2002 صليت نقرأ بعدها قول اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم وشيوخ وزلام ورجال واطفال وصغير وكبير ومرض وصبي قتلوه حسب الدين. ممنوع هذا كله اللي بيصير، الخطف والزنا والهذا كله ممنوع. قطع رؤوسهم كان حماس بعد ما قتلوا الناس، قطع رؤوسهم جنبهم.
Now he's in like new. It changed his outfit and brought him back, I guess. This drink is weird. The way he's drinking this water, very weird to me.
بقول لك يمكن زنا، اغتصاب، اعتداء، تحقيق، كل واحد له فكر. زنوا، اعتدوا عليهم. الأطفال يمكن زنوا فيهم، خطفوهم، اعتدوا عليهم، قتلوهم.
Okay, what do we think about that?
So I think it's authentic to some measure. Sorry, go ahead, James.
You go first.
I think it's authentic to some measure just because of the way he's speaking. Like we were talking before about that video from I think it was before when they shot the child. You know, West Bank speakers, they trail off when they talk, right? And his raspy intonation reminds me a lot of people who speak that vein of Arabic.
Well, it says he's from Rafah, so.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like from where he's from, which is that Rafah's near the Egypt border, right?
That's what we've been talking about, you know, the border crossing.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I don't know if it's not authentic. Someone's a very good actor. Granted, it's Israel. I too am in the entertainment industry. There's some tropes about being Jewish that are true.
My issue is more not. I mean, it's just like we see these videos in Ukraine of captured people all the time that they'll put out where they're saying something and stuff.
Oh yeah, it doesn't mean anything he's saying is true.
Yeah, it's like it could be. They would be like, tell us that. Tell us that. I mean, the guy was shaking when he was brought in. He was terrified. Yeah. You know.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
I also did he say that he was 20? He's like 22. That might this might not even be the full cut. He said he's born in 2002.
I'm 20, I'm 21, I'm 22, I think. I was trying to listen to his voice because
Yeah.
that's where these always fuck up. They use the wrong versions of Arabic. Somebody goes to Google Translate, they use just like regular simplified conversational Arabic, or they use like they should be in Assassin's Creed Mirage, like Farsi or something like that. But whoever that is, that's a native speaker, probably.
Also, the clothing he has on in the beginning here. What is this that he's got on? It's got like, what are these doodly bops on it and stuff? Let me bring it up one more time.
I have no idea.
Like it almost looks like a ghillie suit, like that's like really shittily made. It only has a few pieces of grass on it. Like, did they put this on him? What is this?
Why
does this have these things all over it?
It looks not even like durable cotton, right?
Yeah. It's odd. I don't even know. The other thing, the way he drank the water, like with his hand on the bottom instead of around it, like any of us would, not really that uncommon around there. But
I just got a text message. Apparently, his family claims that he's not even from Hamas, or it's not in Hamas, and he just entered Israel when he saw the wall go down, and that he was arrested with no weapons. So,
I mean, I said this from the start that a lot of these people, like, like the March of Great Return is still like in their minds, and seeing that wall come down. I mean, you see this video, the guy's like partying on the tank, and one guy's got a like rifle that's like in a case on his back, and that's the only gun in the video. Like, that guy pulled that gun out of his house because he's like, it's time for the liberation, brothers. Like, and he got his gun from his house, crossed over the border. That's the scary aspect, is the civilian aspect. If civilians engaged in this type of thing, in this behavior, civilians took hostages and things like that. It's hard to say who is and who isn't. Now, if he just crossed over the border, how would he have access to the information he just gave? Where he's talking about like the beheading of babies and stuff like that. You'd have to be in the communes where that happened, right?
yeah.
How would he know that information if that's the case from his family? If his family is to believe, we know that it's coerced right there.
Or they were just jabbering with other prisoners who saw a video and heard the same thing. There's no way. You can't necessarily say that the data is reliable. Apparently, that's a paper suit that they give the prisoners. The white cloth uniform.
That is so weird. Sorry. I always thought military jail was weird, but like, then Israel's just like, you thought it was weird. Just wait. We're gonna put a guy in a napkin.
Yeah, and we don't, and we do not obey the Geneva Conventions. Like we taught the Americans how to waterboard.
Yeah. Oh my God! Every time one of these like Israeli dudes came from like one of these consulting things, I just knew. I'm like, well, for starters, I'm like, I know my dad could kick your ass, like probably, and half of them were like not even operators. They were like in infantry at a border guard. But because that accent has been associated with like a badass in our media, people assume this guy's legit. But the more that I've listened to what you were saying, though, I agree. I think probably a coerced interrogation. I was thinking just pure fabrication. Like, I wasn't even believing this guy was legitimately, but if his family confirmed it.
Another thing that I wanted to point out. So this was a really weird video that people just started posting about how the borders closed down. What
3D?
Like, why are we posting this video? Like, it's representative of the visual media or something. Like, what is this? Why are we posting this? Like, legit, like journalists posted this video, and I'm like, guys, what is going on here? Can't we just say, do we need the media attached for like everything? Can't we just say like, hey, border shut down, not working
Next thing
out?
they're gonna say is, the they're gonna post that Stinger video of a Su-35 doing insane Su-30 doing insane tricks, and the guy just automatically reloading a Stinger missile system. Be like, brave Ukrainian soldiers, Solos, entire Russian Air Force. But yeah, like that's not even real. Like I had a journalist who was arguing with me in DMs. I'm like, dude, it's like Arma 3, but for logistics. All right, it's not a real thing. It's like, well, it looks real. It's not. I promise you. It's not real.
Okay.
Ooh. So what do you guys think of the Russian angle, right, that people keep trying to play into?
What Russian
I
angle?
mean-
The fact that they used one drone drop video?
Yeah, the one drone drop.
The one guy's like, hey, they're speaking Russian, and everyone's like, no, they're not.
No.
Shut the fuck up. There's that one.
It does sound familiar, but it's not Russian. They have a similar word, but
Isn't this? It's like a meme, like a Scooby-Doo ass meme where they always guess the same person every time or something. What show is that? Is that Scooby-Doo where they do that? Where they're all like,
No.
I know who it is. Right?
Oh God, I'm blanking.
But we know that's a thing, right? That's like a trope.
Yeah, I know that Budnov, the SBU director, said that there were trophy weapons from the Russian conflict that were used in the Hamas attack. But he said, like, there's no evidence that they were like directly collaborating. It's more likely what happened is, the Russians present it to the Iranians, like, hey, like a fish that you just caught, like, I killed a man for this rifle, and the Iranians are like, I don't want this trash. Send it to Moss. That's how it ends up there. Yeah. I will say there is a
Were
video.
you joking about their fucking like weapons, like and how shitty and plastic they were? Was that you?
Yes. Well, not entirely, but like how people were like, "Oh my God, they have M4s," and I'm like, "That is the Chinese M16 ripoff with an adjustable stock." Like, come on, people, you gotta do better.
How did they get 511 gloves?
Oh, probably sent some 18-year-old Marine into the Navy exchange with like a $2,000 credit card. We want all the 511.
Now, James, I saw you talk about this roadblock angle that they're talking about, and you made a comment on this, on how they're saying that there's this roadblock and they're not letting people even evacuate the zone that they're supposed to evacuate from Hamas.
Oh, yeah. Hamas has a vested interest in keeping northern Gaza as populated as possible, right?
To prevent a ground assault.
Not necessarily to prevent a ground assault, but to make it as complicated as possible. I was very tired when I tweeted that, but if you're trying to go into a city, civilians are very bad at hiding from that everything, right? So your troops, even your best troops, are going to be walking through the city, trying not to shoot civilians, even if they are trying to shoot civilians, trying to be saving ammo, right? Preserve ammunition, hopefully try not to be shooting civilians. So if Hamas's guys have very nice hidden positions or shooting places, right? That's going to very much complicate whatever the IDF tries to do on the ground.
Now, when I hear the term human shield, I think of because I'm more experienced in Syria where they actually used people, like they shot people in the back trying to flee and stuff.
Yeah.
So what do we mean when we say Hamas is using human shields here?
I think we. Go ahead, James.
You go ahead.
Okay, I appreciate it. I don't think they're using human shields like how you would see in Syria, like where they literally used human shields. More like they're trying to complicate the area of operation more so that, I know it's insane. There are people in the IDF who have a conscience. And that second can cost you a lot. I know this as a person who was shot through the hip.
I mean, it's something like we have statistics on how many people who actually shoot their gun in the army shoot to kill in all scenarios. Surprisingly, very ineffective.
Yeah.
Most people don't.
Yep. It's not a great way to operate, and especially in a way that we know Hamas has anti-tank rounds. They have everything that they have collected over the years, and every tank that gets blown up is also a roadblock for anything that could help their soldiers already forward. This is the problem with massive operations in the 21st century. A drone swarm can bring your entire army to the, just a stop, a screeching halt. And having to clear this entire road, just person to person, you have to send infantry in first. You can't send in your armored units, because if you send in your armored units, like one of these trucks opens up and it's got a guy with a whatever cornet. We don't even know. They've got multiple.
That is cornet is a missile for anyone who doesn't know.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Cornet guided guide-by-wire missile system.
It's a small missile.
Bane of existence for the Israeli armor during the Egyptian campaign. But these are like multiple nightmares at the same time, because you're having to clear buses, you're having to clear roads and everything behind that. You're trying to get all those cars out of the way so that you can move your troops in. It's ambush hell on earth.
Now, so let's give Hamas the benefit of the doubt and give them the most credit possible. Now, in theory, they are preventing, if technically, if everyone leaves and it's just Hamas there, ground assault is more likely, right? So there's already people who said, I'm not leaving my home, I'm staying here, right? So in theory, if we're talking about anti-hero arc here for Hamas, are they saving lives from preventing evacuation here?
They might be saving homes, maybe not lives per se.
So we think if they opened up these evac and let people out, less people would die in the forthcoming. If it prevents a ground assault, right? Wouldn't that be in theory saving lives? What they're doing?
Yes. Yeah. Because once a ground assault happens, the Israelis, the IDF is going to have to bring out howitzers, and its shelling is not going to be extremely precise, and it's not really going to affect Hamas all that much, right? Because I think Matthew could probably speak to it better than I could, but when you can only blow up rubble so much before you can't do much more to it.
I don't know. I saw an apartment building in Bucha. It's just atomized. Like, it used to be like 5 stories, and it's just dust. Like, it's insane. But yeah, I agree with you. It's once they start doing that, it's gonna be a lot more complicated, because you still have to worry about them popping up from nowhere.
Yeah. They also still have tunnels.
Yeah. Like, it's a terrible military exercise. I spoke to a general who was one of our direct supervisors when I was in the military about this. I sent him an email, and he said, I don't think with an entire MEU and 2 CSGs, I would feel remotely careful. I'm so sorry. I'm using all these acronyms. Yeah.
It's like a division.
Marine. Yeah, exactly.
Report.
Yeah, I would feel comfortable spearheading into northern Gaza. So
this is coming from a Marine, right? The Marines are
yeah,
very, very aggressive by everybody's standards.
Yeah, I always told people as a corpsman, I was the one person who didn't eat crayons. I just sorted the toxic ones from the non-toxic. I was supposed to be the brain, and they were the brawn. But I failed at that many times, because there's a famous phrase, "Hey Doc, watch this."
Oh.
Somebody's about to get injured.
Now, to expand on what we were just talking about, this video might be graphic but I'm going to hopefully pause it before it gets there. But this was allegedly 70 people died, and there's a different one. There's another one that we've all said that it looks like a gas explosion. This was yesterday. Apparently, a convoy was bombed by Israel, allegedly, and 70 people died.
Oh yeah,
See,
geographical.
if this is the area of impact, I'm seeing like how many we see like 2 cars actually made. There's that car is probably, you know, probably you might have lived in that car, but these 2 people in these cars definitely died, right? I don't really see, there's some damage, but
Are you sharing it?
Oh, you know what? I'm not. Thank you, James. That happens. I had to add to the stage. Sorry. So I'm just scrubbing through, right? So we see there's this car. This looks like where we're like actually talking about an impact here. And then this car back here, this one, like, if you were in that car, you might have survived. And then there's these cars over here, and there's like bodies over here that they zoom into. There's a taxi there. And then it's like there's like carts full of bodies and all that stuff. And I've also seen one where they're like they're like in the back of a truck. So what are we talking about here? Like the false flag bombings, actual bombings. Why would we be bombing civilians that we're telling to evac if we're Israel? What is the practical sense and what's going on here?
How do you discriminate between a convoy of militants and a bunch of families trying to flee?
I would say the amount of children I saw in the back of this truck might be an indicator of don't drop the bomb there. Like we're talking like, remember when Yemen, Saudi dropped a JDAM? I think it was a JDAM on a school bus full of children with their backpacks on.
Mm-hmm. And that's a JDAM, so it wasn't accidentally there.
Exactly, and that's my point about giving them more accurate bombs. If they killed these civilians, if Israel killed civilians, they definitely meant to hit that target. It wasn't an accident.
Yeah. Yep. Smart munitions like the JDAM, which is what we almost primarily called in, or JDAMs, Hellfires, that type of thing. So accurate that it's considered like 5 feet from the point that you're calling it in. Whereas, say, the favorite meme plane of the internet, the A-10 Warthog, just
keep going.
We're talking about a school bus in each direction from where that thing's supposed to hit. I struggle to see why they would do it. I mean, we saw the explosive pattern, but I think it makes more sense for Hamas because then they make another bottleneck that they have to pass, which is going to make that hold up at the bridge even longer, so it doesn't make much sense to me.
So I think if we go down here, I think they normally have concluding thoughts. Palestinian Health Ministry says 70 people were killed at the scene and blame Israel for the attack. The IDF says it is investigating, but it says its enemies are trying to prevent civilians from leaving the north. Okay? So we verified that definitely this attack happened. Here's where it happened. What we can't verify is if a bomb was dropped on it. So might be a better angle here too. This will be from above.
Oh yeah, it's censored. You can full screen.
Yeah, hang on. I'm just trying to see because you can't. I want to see the bomb impact zone. I don't want to see this truck back here. This is the truck that they're bringing in.
Huge crater there.
Yeah,
there was a bomb. Yeah,
but we saw this is just the same. It's a different angle of what we already saw. These 2 vehicles and the ones that were hit. Maybe 3 vehicles possibly hit.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's collateral on the other side of the street even.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought this truck is here because they're about to load bodies in the back of it. I've seen what happens after this too. So, I'm stuck on this one. I can't say one way or another. I think the other one that we saw where it looks like a gas explosion, they first reported that it was a bomb, then they said it was an IED, and I think the bomb expert consensus that I got from people I asked is that it was likely an accident, like a gas tank exploding. You know,
That makes more sense. This
But
one
not
doesn't make
this one.
sense. Yeah, this one doesn't make sense as a as a bottleneck either, because if you look to the right, there's plenty of space to just reroute traffic around this area. I don't know. Like
Maybe they
this
used
is either
252 bombs.
that.
Maybe they tried to use small diameter bombs to.
Oh,
Oh yeah, because I think one of Gravity's Rambo or James pointed out that their dynamic targeting regime is just dog shit right now. They're firing off way too many bombs versus the amount of targets that they actually have.
Oh yeah. He was pointing out like it's impractical the amount of bombs Israel has used. Like it doesn't even make sense. Yeah, I know what you're talking.
SDBs would still cause a lot more structural damage to that road, unless that road is like made from like Zeus. You know, it's still it still would show more damage than that, I would think. And anything that would show that little damage is too far away. We're dealing with an area that looks like it's got buildings on both sides of it, so it would have to be a bomb. And I don't think. I assume Israel's armaments are similar to ours, or since they buy most of their shit from us. So I don't see it. I don't. But at the same time, I don't know how cruel they've gotten. Like, they're pretty cruel already. You know. So it's a tough one.
Ooh. So, what do you guys think about the prospects of an Iranian intervention?
Well, I think his snort laugh kind of answered that question. But what do we mean by intervention?
So Iran Defense has been, I guess, cataloging a massive buildup of the Iranian regular army, right?
You show me that source, maybe?
Yeah, he's logged at least 3 videos of massive convoys coming in.
It's Twitter, Iran Defense?
Yeah.
I think you've referenced them before. I think last time we were here, we referenced that.
Yes.
Oh, this is like really good geolocation that this one person did here.
And this is the big one, right? T-72s, T-72Ms, M113s, M577s, and M548s. So it's entire maneuver unit. Parking a few companies here and saying, if you do something, we will do X. It's a serious buildup and large.
I think it's a bluff. Just because, for one reason, there's 2 carrier strike groups in the Levant right now. Like, just don't. Like,
we have the image from USNI, or the Naval Institute.
Yeah.
Where's that?
The Naval Institute?
Okay.
Minneapolis.
Hang on. If you because if you sometimes if you gotta open it in the next you open it in the next window, it'll open a little better too. But that's fine right there. So yeah, plenty of. I heard they just sent another to back up the fort as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to be sending the Ronald Reagan, which will take like a week to get there at the minimum. So right now,
I'm surprised they're not sending the Healy.
They need it for Ukraine.
Oh dang! Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
And then the USS Bataan, famous for torturing people after we abducted them in Afghanistan, of course. So we have troops right now. So if we're talking about Iran, where Iran's a problem, it's where those 2 warships are down there. Down there, because we sent like how many more guys we just deployed there? All Marines. I think it's Hezbollah TV will tell me if I look at their channel.
I think it's the
Eugene's gonna talk to you.
The Rapid Reaction Force from Kuwait.
Yeah.
and Djibouti.
What an
So it's not a lot of guys. It's like a brigade worth of guys.
Yeah, but if you put them on civilian boats, ships, and you attack it, you're then attacking American service members. And if you attack American service members, Iran already knows what's going to happen. When the National Guard took those troops that like were sailors and they just kind of like drifted, they weren't even in Iranian waters yet. I heard this story from a
Hezbollah
friend.
TV says 3,000 more troops to the Persian Gulf. That was 2 months ago. I knew they would give me the exact number if I looked at them.
Are they a fraction news source, or are we dealing with an accurate news source in this case? By that I mean, like,
so look. I mean, if you go to the channel, you can see us react to them. No, these are they went to Ethiopia to support the genocide. As far as a good news source, no. But the thing is that I know this quote is real that they gave right here. You know.
But yeah, when they drifted into, near Iranian waters and they took those sailors, that the captain of one of the destroyers basically said, like, hey guys, I know you have our guys, so let's do this the nice way. Like, give them back, show me that they're fine, like, right now, not in 5 minutes, now, and then just immediately rambled off the location of this man currently that they're speaking to over the radio. It's like, and I have multiple destroyers, and all they fire is pain. So, and like 5 minutes later, there was a video of them just having a jolly good old time, like with. So
what do we
Iran
think
knows
about the
what.
U.S. not doing anything to prevent this ground assault, to prevent this genocide from going through?
I think the Ford is already doing that because it provides the threat to Hezbollah. Don't step over the border, because I think if
The Israeli one.
moves, yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I know. I agree. Like, I think that is part of it, because like the only reason that we're there is not because like, oh, we love Israel. It's because Bibi needs a way to hold back Hezbollah and those Syrian militias from moving in from the north, and the fact that we sent basically a small ship from Halo to basically say, hey, if anybody fights Israel, they're going to fight us. They know better than to do that. It's a bad idea. And since Iran has showed up on the border now, as they've said, this allows the possibility for negotiation through third parties.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I think this whole rhetoric that they're not preventing it, I think people just need to shut the fuck up for a lot of things. The point is that every day, all the time, bombs are being dropped in Gaza, and like there is like the journalists, like we know for a fact, though, especially in the Lebanon hit. I'm not going to pull up video, but those people were targeted. There's no way they weren't. So, and then there's like this thing where a guy goes to the hospital and he realizes his entire journalist team is dead.
So fucking sad.
They are targeting journalists, for sure.
Yeah. Well, they don't want the news to get out.
Well, I think somebody should tell them that fucking smartphones exist now, and it's a new era. Because like, that's another thing. Why I think they constantly post these. Why I think Israel is the one behind doing this shit with Syria, posting the Syrian refugees. Because if you put a Palestinian flag in your name, immediately, like, you'll be accepted into the coalition. Like, it's got to be easy to infiltrate a lot of these groups and like keep them from sharing the extent of like the death that's happened.
Yeah. There was that, we were talking about that video with that crazy lady. She jumped in front of the car. What a.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That lady's nuts. That lady's not checking to ensure that her information's correct. She's just running with it. And I mean, I was never information warfare guy. I at all. The only information that we dropped off to the Taliban was incredible violence.
Taliban not known for Twitter until very recently, so.
Yeah, that was very funny to me. Wait, do you know this? One of my first Twitter interactions that got like a bunch of steam was that the child of one of the people who I was like responsible for, like, we dropped a big ass bomb on his head, replied to me on Twitter, and I'm like, oh shit, we missed a spot.
Jesus.
And people were like, you can't say that. I'm like, it's the Taliban.
I mapped their so like that's the thing, as they come online on Twitter, and this is before the must tape over. I don't have time to do it anymore, but I mapped their entire network because like they had no operational security for any of these accounts and stuff. But then like I literally publicly was nice to them on my timeline, sharing their stuff, all this stuff for maybe a year of like just mapping their entire network, and then like it eventually, as we started up 5th gen, there was the they took like there was like a famous case of somebody who wanted to get out of Afghanistan that were being held hostage and raped and awful shit. And then I was like, all right, it's time. And then I just publicly came out and did like an entire breakdown on like the information and stuff. Like I did forensic analysis and like to show like where the locations are just from like curtains and shit. And the Taliban quickly started like unfollowing me because they figured out what I was actually about. But with Israel and Palestine, you're not going to just stumble into Hamas chat on Twitter like you would with the Taliban.
Oh yeah.
But as far as the network and people, because people just want to help,
Yeah.
And the people who think who want to help, literally the people who think you can share a hashtag to end a war, those are the people that are the easiest and most susceptible to use information warfare on.
Yeah. I got to give it to Ukraine again. They were brilliant with how they used information warfare in the first few weeks of the war.
Yep.
Because when I talk to people all the time, they're like, oh my God, your dad's the big dude. I speak Ukrainian and Russian also. And for some reason, they're all just amazed that my father is like 71 years old and 6'6" and like built like a brick shit house still. It did not pass on. Michael Jordan's kids did not go to the NBA. I am not intimidating. People who see me, they're like, how are you two related? But the Ghost of Kiev, I know it's not real.
That was so awesome. I totally rolled with that.
Go with it. Yeah. I
like
remember...
we were saying, I think we were joking about Meat Cube today. Like Meat Cube is canon now,
I mean, I was around the NAFO guys when they got started.
Yeah.
And whatnot. Now, granted, the further you go out from NAFO, like the original core people, I did not pronounce this nonsense, you did, the dumber they get.
Yeah.
We are brain damaged dogs. I'm a fella. I can say that.
I've been like observing them and like looking at it from the start, because my whole theory in Syria and just getting destroyed by information warfare from Iran and Russia every day, and like learning it from ISIS and stuff, like I was like, if a civilian market got involved with a cause, they could do so much damage. And like they actually do they shut, like Russian information warfare was the most advanced, and now it's like nothing, because like Ukraine has been dealing with this for a long time. Ukraine is like Ukraine is like it's like the second or third most targeted place in the world with information warfare. US is number 1. And but Ukraine is also an exporter. Like they take an equal amount in them they were exporting for the longest time. But like Russia and Iran, and then also like Myanmar is in there. Myanmar being an exporter of information warfare. Myanmar doesn't export information warfare. It's because to this day, after, even though they facilitated a genocide by not having moderators in Burmese is still where you resurrect stuff. So like the Crucified Boy video is a famous one. So that reemerged again when the Ukraine war started. I should say the war in Ukraine. And that started going around again. And it started with Myanmar accounts, because that's where you go to like pass stuff off that is already like flagged and dead from the internet. You can resurrect it again from there. But like now I see it posted all the time by QAnon saying like this is the people we're helping. I'm like, are you guys serious? Have you actually watched this video and like looked at it? Like I know when I'm getting crucified, I'm like, oh no, don't slowly drive those nails in my hand, and make sure you don't get close up of the nails in my hand.
I've heard from a friend who's a fellow writer at CD Projekt Red. There's a mission in Cyberpunk 2077, inspired purely from what that should have sounded like, where a career criminal gets crucified for like some like money being paid to people on his death. And he's like, yeah, see, like it shouldn't have been like this, like shot by adult entertainment angles that they had. It should have been this. And I'm like, dude,
it's the lack of struggle for
Yes.
me. Like you like to just like to actually be crucified and just basically like he's just like it looks like he's like stuck in a potato sack, you know? But
Oh,
like
yeah,
he's
totally.
got it's like his arms are free and he's still just like nobody's holding it down. He's still holding the arm down before they even like get to that side of the cross. So it's like so when we're talking about the quality of Russian information warfare, is it good? No. Is it massive? Yes. Now, Israel and Hamas are a different story because Syria, I mean, like, look at Russia really invested in there in the Assadist network, and Russia and Iran joined forces in that Assadist network. Like, we have Gray Zone now because of this, Mint Press because of this,
Thank
you
you.
know, Breakthrough News because of this, Redfish because of this. And now there's like even Red, like, and it's totally not Redfish, even though their social media uses the same exact templates. And then all these people are now like they're like, oh, it's legitimate news. It's now. But it's like these people exist just to deny war crimes. And that's the thing is I always warn people, if you care about Palestine, beware the pro-Palestine voices, because all these people, the Assadists, the Russians, the Iranians, none of them give a fuck about Palestinians, but they will tokenize it and bring you into their network. And then it's I love this term. Who's the evil guy at the World Economic Forum? Klaus Schwab. Like I think they attribute it to him, but it's quantum politics. Now, we've known for a while that this is going to be the future of politics, where reality just doesn't exist. For like, you get people to vote for things that they don't know that they're voting for. That's the
Yep.
strategy for a lot of this. So, the fact that we can identify fascism and immediately eradicate it, being like, this is no place online, everyone is against fascist, right? Now, the fact that once it immediately becomes, if it's a fascist who just puts a Palestinian flag in their bio, right, or in their name, then it's suddenly apologia for the same exact rhetoric. There's no difference. And I just want to be clear about this, that Hamas did this attack to kill civilians in Gaza. That is 100% the goal. That said, it has also done devastating damage to the Israeli state. Like it's like almost like I'm like Israel will not recover from this. Like Israel is forever changed. This is like it's you know, even if there's no third intifada, like the goals that a third intifada could complete were actually done in a day here. They had 3 hours to do this, right? And people are saying, oh, it's nice to see that the narrative is shifting left. There's no left. There's no right. Okay? That's not what, like, shut the fuck up. Okay, guys? Shut up.
I'm gonna say that
the narrative is shifting towards Gaza because Hamas only had 3 hours to commit their atrocity. Every day children die in Gaza. Of course it's going to shift more towards Gaza. Like, God forbid we are a little upset about, you know, defiling of corpses, you know, and this, like, everything has to be alive. Like, I mean, did the 40 babies die or not?
There was
40
somebody
children
who
died. But let's
they
You know, did this
they
happen?
yes, but no.
Does it make a difference?
Honestly, in the grand scheme of things, no, because children are dying constantly. It's not just
I said
there.
this from the start. The only thing that Hamas really fucked up on doing this type of stuff is their own optics. But hell, I mean, I misjudged it. Nobody gives a fuck, you know? Like, if they post video of them decapitating babies at this point, I'm convinced people will defend it, even if there's like literal evidence of it happening, right?
Yeah, they could do like the full 24, as my father likes to call it, like the TV show 24. Whenever they showed Muslims, like
But it's literally a show about torturing Muslims.
yeah, exactly.
That's all.
No,
that
I mean
show's
like
about.
the beheadings on that show are so ritualistic. They belong in like the first century or 7th century or some
Mhm.
shit like that. I think
It's hard
this
to
is the
behead
weird.
somebody, by the way.
Oh yeah, I know.
You need practice.
A lot of arm strength.
Yeah.
I'm one of like 3 corpsmen who has a confirmed kill with an E-tool, which is a shovel, in case you didn't know. But that everybody's like, wow, huh? It's got a sharpened edge, and everybody's like, wow, that's such a badass thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, totally. Like the real story is that we were digging this like position because in the next morning there was supposed to be some sort of convoy that came by, never showed up, but a Taliban patrol did, and like walked directly in front of me, and my rifle nowhere near me. In my mind, I was like, oh, well, I have this shovel. I'll throw the shovel. Completely whiff him. Don't even touch him. Hits the ground, lands blade up, and he jumps down into the position, trips, and gouges himself on the shovel.
That's the type of Looney Tune shit I'm talking about. This is why I love that. That's like the thing is like I like it when it's funny, you know? It's funny when the atrocities are funny, when it's like terrorist on terrorist crime.
Yeah.
Like
I don't. It's the only kill that deserved Benny Hill music. Okay.
Yeah. But like one of my favorite ones is it's their vehicle mines in Russia, and like they stop and like clearly see the mines in front of them. They're like, fuck it. They immediately blow up, driving over them. It's like so let's talk about conscription in the Israeli army. So we've been talking for a while that the main reason that they want to get rid of it is because of the rape. Now,
what?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I knew that, but like I just was shocked to hear it be mentioned.
The main argument to get rid of conscription in Israel right now is because of the sexual assault. I should have said that because it's more tame of less of a trigger word. So, like we said, these people don't want to fight. That they would be throwing into the lion's den. What are we talking about? Ground assault, best case scenario comes out. And we're talking about best case scenario for Israel, not like what we morally want to happen. What is the best case scenario for Israel in a ground assault here?
I don't think the ground assault will be very effective. Like I think best case scenario is they don't lose a ton of people. I just don't see putting a bunch, like swarming the zone is not going to work because like you got to find them. It's, you need Elmer Fudd, in this case, we're just talking about Looney Tunes, like you have to hunt them down. That does not work by swarming the zone. Swarming the zone means they bury, they only come up to attack, and then they disappear again. I just don't see any very, very effective. I also don't see a way that tanks and armored personnel carriers will be super effective, considering we've seen them at so many different things thus far. So
yeah, I'm gonna follow along those lines and say the best case is that the IDF's handful of soft guys go in. They have to clear every structure door by door. And how many buildings are in Gaza? like well over 100,000.
I mean, where they're going into is basically a building it's Mega City 1, you know? Like,
Oh, literally, if you count the tunnels.
Where is Judge Dredd when you need him?
I just don't. When I said a ground assault, I was like, how? And then when I saw like evac was actually happening, I started getting like, are they actually like gonna glass this place? You know, how do you like people? And then even people are like, they're gonna drop a nuke. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm gonna lose my mind on you fucking people.
Yeah.
The amount of dinguses that have come out of this conflict, dude, it's so annoying. It's like, can we go back to you all not giving a fuck about people like fighting in the West Bank when like who are you kidding that you give a fuck about Palestine? You show up when there's a fucking terrorist attack that kills a bunch of, you know, Israeli farmers and shit. What about West Bank? What about the Lions then? What about the Shaheeds? You know, the they're literally like the civilians went out to protect people that they were coming after in the Jenin brigades with rocks. You know, regular civilians defended these people. Now, how many regular civilians are going to come out with rocks and defend Hamas?
None.
Not very many. Everybody hates Hamas.
Very few. Yeah, I was about to say I've of the 2 family members that sadly passed away in Gaza. Yeah, nobody has ever spoken a kind word about Hamas. Not a very well liked organization. But the thing that I think makes this entirely untenable from both angles, that they're both in a situation where I would not be surprised if in 30 years, you know, some like Jake Sullivan does a book. It's like, yeah, that time that we talked Iran into moving their military onto the border so that we could force negotiations between Hamas and Israel. You know, if that came out,
wow,
I would not be shocked at all.
You fucking Jake
That would be
stands.
What'd you say? He's not a Jake Sullivan stan. I don't think he would have anything to do with it. I think the guy's an idiot. It's just
okay. I want to talk. I want to talk about this meme that I made for the future. This is the aspect that I think pisses me off the most about the attack. Aside from like, just in general, just like I don't even understand the point of bombing Gaza. Like who like what like who does it actually stop at this point? Now, so suspending negotiations with Saudi Arabia. I guess I should pull up a map of what Area C is in the West Bank. But does anyone know some of the negotiations that were on the table? Just on the table to begin. Not even like
Before
what would
this?
happen for the yes.
Before this, I was told that they were going to work out a better worker permit program between Gaza and Israel. So there wasn't, was it 18, is it 1,000, 18,000? I don't remember the number off the top of my head that are allowed to come into Israel to work, and that they would have total autonomy from Israel. That was the words. Now, remember, Benjamin Netanyahu worked in my father's world of counterintelligence. So I believe exactly zero that man ever says. So I don't think he ever had any good intentions to follow through on negotiations. I think this was all play theater.
Okay, well, here's where I'm going to counter what you say there. Now,
Okay.
Before they even get to the negotiating table, a bare minimum standard of what Saudi was saying before they would even sit down is Area C being turned over before negotiations even start. They want a good faith token from Netanyahu to give Area C before any of the other negotiations start. Now, when we talk about Area C, the zone in red is what they would be giving back to West Bank. Do we understand how significant this is?
Oh yeah, it's huge.
This is like the biggest like land back thing that would have ever happened if this deal went through. So if we're sitting here to pretend that Hamas is some sort of revolutionary force that is helping Palestine, right here alone is why they're not. Now, if they really wanted to help Palestine, continue arming the lions then and shit like that, you know? Like, they should have paraglided their fighters up to go fight in the West Bank against these actual settlers and shit. Now, how much of Area C would actually come back under the control? Who knows? But as you can see, Area C, it has more settlers than Palestinians, right? That would mean that these people would potentially be displaced. What happens then? Or they would fall under the Palestinian Authority control. And it's like, all right, if you want to keep that house you stole, guess who your government is now, you know? So when we're talking about like the security checkpoints, like there's roads in the West Bank that only Israeli citizens can drive on, and then there's roads, like you can't even take certain roads. This is beyond like segregation water fountain shit, you know? Like,
yeah,
it's disgusting. So work permits, that would be huge, because at this point, this is what we're looking at is like exploitation of like migrant workers, you know, in a way. And to call them migrant workers is fucking weird, but just for comparison.
Yeah, I was actually talking more about Gaza in the last time that they had negotiations, because I was actually really interested in that when I was talking to that almost slipped out. My contact. I would be a terrible journalist. Just a terrible journalist. Granted, I don't think he'd care. Like, they can't exactly touch him. But it's like and he's not exactly giving me like, so these are the nuclear launch codes. But yeah, like I think West Bank, I totally know tons of Israelis who would be like, oh, cool, we're going to displace the assholes? Good.
Yeah.
Like, they're not liked in Israel. It's like the only thing that Bibi had going for him, he's now proven he's not actually good at.
Well, the thing is that this would save his career. This would save, if he negotiated this and he betrayed Ben-Gvir, because that was part of it, is that Ben-Gvir would have to get the fuck out too. Right, so he'd be the big loser. So he'd betray these fucking draft dodger settler nationalists and stuff for Saudi Arabia normalizations. Now, this is a zero-sum game negotiation here. Like, both sides need to win, even if they are losing something here. You know, what does Saudi gain from being the champion of human rights and liberating the West Bank? What does Saudi actually gain from this deal?
They get security guarantees from the U.S., which is something for sure. Because like then you don't have to spend as much money on the military, because you know people on the planet. I totally respect the Chinese and their ability to make the Amazon brand of literally everything. I don't think it's going to go well making the Amazon brand F-22. Or F-35, or whichever one.
I mean, they can barely make a ballpoint for a ballpoint pen, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so.
I think this has more to do. MBS, after butchering that journalist and shoving him in a suitcase and getting into a shouting match with Jake Sullivan over it, and then the first thing that they brought foreign journalists in, the first thing they asked, "Hey, what about that guy you put in a suitcase?" You know, really didn't like that. So So he's currently got away with that. We made deals to have that crime be just forgotten about. Now, he really wants to save face and gain this reputation for Saudi Arabia. He's truly a revolutionary megalomaniac. Now, with the war in Ukraine, right? So Ukraine said that the peace talks that Saudi Arabia held were productive because they met with like China and stuff, proxies that are involved with backing Russia to pressure. You know, it's further down the line where you would get these pressures put in place. So Saudi Arabia is already kind of trying to, because especially after 9/11, like they have a reputation that they're a brutal, like, you know, they have a sword on their flag, so they even look spookier, you know. So he wants to do a lot to like maintain these reputations. And if like Saudi Arabia did this, they would be like winning in the public discourse, especially Arab discourse. If Saudi Arabia was able to do this for the Palestinians, it would change everything. Yeah. And now we probably can't see it because there's no way Netanyahu's government is going to stay together for these negotiations to even succeed. So now we have to wait and see who's coming after Netanyahu before we can even see any type of potential West Bank liberation thanks to Hamas.
Yeah, I heard that there's the Socialist Party, one of them aligned in Israel, has already found themselves a candidate for eventual election. So we'll see how long BB lasts.
It would be really funny to see the socialists win, especially.
I mean, they're not
Oh, shit.
they're socialist-esque. They're not socialists,
Now, what do we think
it's not-
about this? I know they're social Zionists. You know,
Yeah.
it's you could look it up on Wikipedia. Now, what do we think about the conspiracy that somehow this was also planned by Israel to like get like political tokens or something? I don't know what these people think. How do we feel
No.
about that? That this
Bro.
somehow helps BB because he can be empowered by being a wartime president or something?
Yeah, this isn't
probably
Bush. This if he thought that was the case, he greatly let me tell you, he's not getting, he's not nearly as likable as George W. Bush. George W. Bush, he's a monster.
Why not asks, do we think BB will go to Israeli prison still? God, I fucking hope so. That is all Israel has been trying. Israel has been trying to do that for a long time now. Like they talk about Trump being like it's unprecedented, and it's like no, we have seen it. Like Israel proves. Like come on, guys. Like can we see? Like it's literally the same thing. Like God, I hope so. I don't know how he came back. This snake. The only way he would have been able to stay in power was with this Saudi deal.
Yeah, and I think currently it's untenable that anyone believes he's going to win or be able to hold on to power. Herzog is just gone because like he's just his mouthpiece. Like that's not remotely going to be enough to stick around. BB's only way is if he continues to manipulate the judiciary to find a way where, in the same way that Project 2025 in the U.S. with the, oh God, what's their name? I don't remember. Whichever Hitler's Youth is up to that today.
Is it possible for Israel to do a military coup to avoid a ground assault on Gaza?
Yes, because I mean,
what would we say is more likely, a ground assault on Gaza or them doing a military coup to prevent a ground assault on Gaza?
I'd say military coup after a ground assault is unsuccessful.
Yeah, I think they could threaten a military coup, and then it would end the ground assault. I think that's more likely, because BB sounds like the type of person who would try and just go to that house of his in New Jersey.
Justin asks, can West Bank Palestinians convert to Judaism? Yes, there are Palestinians in the West Bank who are Jews already.
Yeah, Mizrahi Jews all over the place. Yeah, my mother grew up next to them. Yeah, this is the insane thing. Before the Brits decided to just be like, Jews and Muslims, I don't see it. Because every time we're a neighbor with someone, we kill each other. Like, thousands of years live next to each other. Not an issue.
Europe is an awful continent.
Yeah, like, not an issue. Like, even during World War II, the mandated Palestine units that were in France, which my great uncle was a member of, they were mixed. They were Jewish and Muslim. They were not all just Jews. But like
there's
the stories
a lot of
hate them all as Jews.
There's a lot of making everyone into the same. Like even now, everyone in Palestine supports Hamas and is Hamas, which is like anyone who says that and like has the nerve to like wave a Palestinian flag. It's just like it's not like offensive to me. It's just embarrassing at this point. Like it's really embarrassing. Like it's the same. It's the equivalent to the whiteys going out there and saying land back, and then the like people are like, actually, we get paid for that land. Like we depend on the money for that land. Can you guys shut up?
Then can you let them keep it?
They were going there telling these like environmentalists were like mad that these people were working their land and doing a logging operation, and like the people who owned the land, the First Nation who owned the land, was explaining to these white people that they need to shut the fuck up and get off their land or something. It's so funny to me. It's like, just learn about what you're actually doing, guys. Now, so I've been trying to kind of come up on this closing out note to be hopeful, because like we're literally staring at a genocide potentially happening, and people will say it's already a genocide. This is why we need to stop using terms for everything. Ethnic cleansing has happened, not necessarily a genocide. There's scales and waves to these things. Now, that said, because we're facing a genocide, I would like to have hopeful outlooks to things. How do we think? Is it uglier from here? Because James, you and I on our first day, I said I think it's actually, besides like civilians dying in Gaza, the worst of it is already over, and it's going to be uphill from here. How do we feel about that? Are we hopeful about anything? Is good things going to come about this? Who's going to suffer from this? Like as far as like Netanyahu and stuff.
I think it's BB we're talking about, right? So the only way out of it he has is by conducting a successful land invasion of Gaza, which is
we don't think is possible.
Which is not possible, actually.
The military itself says it's not possible. It's said this since they left the Gaza settlements. They've said this, that it's not possible.
So we have another question. The last ground war, Israel lost 67 soldiers in 3 weeks. Hamas, an estimated 470 or 69. Why do you expect it'll be much worse this time? Better tech on Hamas's side? I was going to do a short answer. Because their tactics are different and their equipment is better. Right?
Yeah, this assault we've seen from Hamas, the tactics that were used we have never seen before in general, ever. Like in a battlefield, these tactics have never been used.
Yeah, there's a video that kind of blew my mind. I'm like, oh, maybe they're not as shitty as I thought they were. Of this member of Hamas who's at that rave, right? Now, there's other guys running around just randomly spraying AK-47 bullets, but this guy who had a camera on, I noticed that he looked at the toilets, the porta-johns, porta-potties, whatever you call them, and if you watch his hand, I see him change his hand on the fire selector to single shot and just put a round into each one of them. That is not something that a random coked out whatever dude is going to think of, okay? Dude knew exactly where to fire if someone was hiding in the toilet and put a bullet in that exact spot in each one of those. That's a professional. That's not some idiot. That's a well-trained professional. So like that's a person who's experienced, didn't freak out that he had to go to the fire selector and immediately changed from automatic to single shot. So
meanwhile, because we're talking about how I said before, the elites are going to be closer to the border and those hard targets. In the commune, there's a video of where the bad assault happened, where they like jam their RPG up, and like it's literally an entire minute of them just like trying to like the stabilizer on the back, I think, gets stuck or something because they didn't even know how to like load their RPG properly, So the contrast in forces is very interesting. So anyway, anything else that we have? What do people? Where does this end? Where's the bright light at the end of the tunnel for this? What good is going to come out of it?
I think this is going to be the end of the idea that a strong man can protect you. It's like BB has failed in every way. And I think people hopefully decide that maybe we should go in a different direction. Because even for those who voted purely out of the idea that, he can protect me, he's already proven he can't. His whole ads were based on like, oh, I'm always here to protect you.
That's a good thing to close on. Those ads.
It's very idealistic, though, because usually when you have a strong man, they don't start off as like saying, "I will protect you from everything," right? Usually they fuck up, and then something bad happens, and then they say, "I will protect you from this," and the support goes up. and then the fuck ups get worse and worse, but the support keeps rising and rising, like Erdogan or even Putin, right? After the wave of terror attacks in Russia from Chechnya, his support just kept going up.
Oh yeah, no, I would believe that if I thought that like it had been effective.
No, I lost.
You cut out for a second. If it had
Yeah.
been effective.
My headphones died. One moment.
We're pretty much wrapping up here anyway, so okay, officially here. Are we saying the situation in Gaza is good?
It's definitely not good, but it's gonna get worse. Let's get worse from here. That's
You think it's gonna get worse, not better?
Yeah, at least temporarily.
In the short term.
Iran might be the saving grace, as Matthew pointed out.
I know, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Matt. Last little thing you want to.
Trying to figure out what. Can you all?
Yeah,
hear
you're
me?
just a little quieter, but we're gonna end here shortly anyway. We can hear you. You're a little quieter, but it'll be fine.
Yeah. So I think what ends up happening is after a failed invasion, where Iran becomes brinksmanship there on the border, we end up with a four-way negotiation, probably between U.S., Iran, and Gaza, and hopefully, actually, not just Gaza, Palestine in general.
Yeah, the PA.
Yeah, the PA, and from there, maybe, Israel can grow into the liberal democracy that we've been claiming it's been for the past 35 years.
Israel needs a rewrite of the Constitution for things to really change. But I just hope that the situation, just getting Bibi out of there will be a huge progress. Just a real big change in government would be nice. Now, that said, after this, we're not any last words before I play this video and then end the stream.
Nope.
Okay. Here's the greatest political ad ever. Hopefully I won't cover. I want to make sure we don't cover subtitles. Okay, we'll be fine. All right, here we go. BB's political ad. The music is so funny to me. The contrast of the fucking Looney Tunes music here to what we just I'm just thinking of the Ho execution they did on that fucking migrant worker. Picturing is that with the little oboe or whatever this instrument is.
ביבי? ראש הממשלה, מה אתה עושה פה?
מה זאת אומרת? כמו תמיד, שומר עליכם.
וואלה, בים?
בים, באוויר, ביבשה, בכל מקום שצריך.
בהירות.
צריך להיות מוכן לכל תרחיש.
ועד מתי אתה פה?
זאת אומרת, זה תלוי בכם. ב-17 בספטמבר אני אמור להתחיל משמרת נוספת, אבל רק אתם תחליטו מי ישמור עליכם.
לא, למה מי יכול להחליף אותך? רואים שם צבא?
לא יודע, ברק לא מכה פעמיים.
Who's he saying? The guy with the neck warmer. What does that mean?
That was his opponent, wasn't it?
Okay, I was just trying to give context for people.
חכו שנייה. החבר'ה עם הבוגי, אתם כבר לא בימין, אתם עמוק בשמאל. כל הזמן נסחפים אלה. יאללה חבר'ה, כנסו למים, תהנו קצת.
לא, יש הרבה מדוזות.
מה אתה אומר? איבט הבטיח לחסל אותם לפני 48 שעות.
בהירות.
לכל תרחיש. אזרחי ישראל, בים הסוער של המזרח התיכון, הוכחנו שאנחנו שומרים על ישראל כאי של יציבות ושל ביטחון. אבל כדי שנוכל להמשיך, אתם צריכים להצביע מחל.
We're also going to need to teach him geography and what an island is.
Yeah, his Hebrew and Yiddish are just fucking awful.
Yeah, he's an American, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know. He's literally a settler.
Yeah, he sounds like his mouth is full of peanut butter.
He went to college in Boston.
Yeah, he went to Harvard.
I think he was born and grew up in Israel or something like that. But he is one of those people who may have had family in Israel and lived in America. All that shit about him growing up in Israel and all that shit. Horse shit.
Yeah,
he went to MIT, I think. I'm telling you, it was in Boston for sure, though. At the
Yeah.
that's all I remember. Is I think
He went to Harvard.
school with like Obama or someone.
Yeah.
There's someone in our government he actually went to school with while he was there. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully,
Yeah, MIT.
things will get better next time we have an update for Israel, and we'll see if we even have to do another one. Maybe it'll end tomorrow and everything will be peaceful. One can dream and one can hope.